You've waited a lifetime to look better and feel better, and now here's your chance. Fitness Friday on WNDB. Call 239-0033 and have your questions answered on health, fitness, and a better life. Fitness Friday is brought to you by Bodez by Tasso & Company, 1140 West Granada Boulevard in Ormond Beach. And now, here's your host, Tasso Kyriakis.
Welcome to Fitness Friday, and presented to you by Beauty and Acupuncture Care with Dr. Lorenzo Fon, who's not in studio with us today. No. But in studio with us is Mitch from Love Whole Foods. Mitch, welcome. We're gonna talk about, I have friends that tease me, Mitch, that say, you think exercise can cure cancer. And I would always pause and think cautiously about it. And I'd look at them and go, yep, you're right, it can. And I do think that. And I have two specific research articles that we'll talk about today that talk about cancer and stress related together. So we'll be coming back to talk to Mitch about that. He's going to be in studio with us. And now the bane of my existence is in here. You couldn't have called Mitch and had him come early that day, right? Do you know what my schedule looks like every week now? Do you know what my schedule looks like every week? I get up, I go to work at 5:15, I have my first appointment. By 6 o'clock, I have to leave because I have to either go to ballet, Pilates, or yoga. And then I have to go to dance practice where they confuse me with all these steps they keep teaching me. And then the worst of it is on the 16th, I'm going to miss one of the quarterback club meetings because we have to launch the Dancing with the Stars episode at the MG on the Grand deal on the 16th.
What time does that start?
6 o'clock. Same time quarterback club starts.
We'll miss you, Tasso.
Man, that hurts. Mitch couldn't have been early that day. You bring out three good-looking girls going, do you like to dance? Oh, yeah, I like to dance. Wow. Okay, we're going to get you dancing with us.
Hey, Tasso, it's for a good cause.
Yes, it is.
And part of that's probably you're getting some more exercise, it sounds like.
Oh.
And so
yeah. Forget about rest.
You're fighting cancer by dancing.
I think that's probably a good case.
There's a balance.
Dance uses every muscle group in the body.
Hey, pipe down over there. Listen, you're not helping my cause over here, Mitch. I'm trying to make him feel guilty. He has to go buy a corporate table for WNDB to be there. There's two ways of winning the trophy. One trophy is given to the biggest fundraiser. Mitch, I'll talk to you about that later, so we get like a lot of Loves Whole Foods people coming to it.
Okay.
And the other way is to be the best dancer. So let's, as we'll talk in a moment with my dance instructor, if she gets a chance to call. The crystal ball is pretty much out of the realm of possibility. But because of all the listeners out there that listen to the show, all 43 of them, and my connections in this room, I should be able to be fairly competitive for that trophy for the best fundraising. Don't you agree?
I think using WNDB for getting sponsorship for any cause is one of the best things you can do.
So listen, the reason I had you in here is I'm also wanting to make you feel guilty that I was going to miss the kickoff classic tonight out at the stadium because of you.
But you're not going to miss it. You can take it with you anywhere you go. All you got to do is listen on the radio or...
I really hope it rains really bad tonight. And I hope you're staying out there in that silly little Parker you have. And they're up in the press box going, what's it look like down there, Terry? You go, I can't see the field. It's raining so hard. But tonight we start football coverage, kickoff coverage for WNDB and high school football.
We started last night. Where were you?
Sleeping after I was tired from dancing.
We had
an hour and a half.
We had Mainland and Lake Mary last night. Final score 14-9. Mainland came out and just their special teams and defense was amazing. They had a interception returned for 90 yards for a touchdown, and then a field goal attempt blocked and returned for a touchdown. And that's how they got their 14 points. So
their offense didn't really produce, but their defense, as always, is just studly.
Their offense is doing okay, but the defense scored all the touchdowns. You're right.
Right. Yeah. Hey, listen, that's a great athletes out there, and tonight we see what Seabreeze is going to look like. I understand Seabreeze looked pretty good in the big the round robin thing they had last week. They played Apopka, who is the 8A state champions.
That's what I've heard. Is they gave Apopka a good battle. Apopka's a tough school. You don't go out and mess around with them. That's a tough school to go up against.
And I understand Seabreeze has a couple they lost some really key people.
We kept calling those names out last night at Mainland, and I don't understand the transfer process. I need to learn more about it.
As I understand it, here's the way it goes. They say you can't transfer from Mainland to Seabreeze. You can't be transferring, just to transfer to play football in another school. But every time it happens, the friend of mine, I said, how can they do that? He said, well, every time they mention lawsuit, it all sort of goes all away. So, it's probably a good move for those guys. And I hope it works out for everybody. I saw that Seabreeze had 3 or 4 kids that transferred in from like West Palm and the Panhandle. So they got some good athletes, and that's what they need. They need a few more athletes to make their team. They're very solid fundamentally in the passes. We know, they're going to have a high-power offense, and so we'll see how they do. I think their biggest weakness is going to be that offensive line. They don't have a lot of big guys.
That's what I understand is, and they lost. I think there was 4 seniors on that line last year.
Yep.
Rich Stewart, one of them, a good friend of mine. And
Dylan Garrison headed to USF to play ball now. He's off on his trip. So just
Rich going to University of Florida. Don't know if he's going to be playing or not, but.
No. Well, another thing I wanted to talk about with you, Terry, is one thing that's very near and dear to my heart and to yours is the quarterback club. And we have a great lineup of speakers. It's not too late for people to come involved. I mean, and I love quarterback club because if you come there with a specific purpose of doing business and hand out your business cards, you're probably going to get carried out the front door and dumped in the dumpster. But if you come there genuinely to talk about football and develop relations that can lead into business relationships, you're going to have a great time. And we've got some great speakers. It's sort of the year of the quarterback this year, I think you would call it. We start out with Houston McNutt. And then we've got the guy from SI Magazine, Neil Cornwich. And then we have Shane Matthews, Jack Youngblood, who used to beat up quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Okay, and Jack has some very close ties in this area because
he does.
Very close with Tommy Durrance.
Yep.
And actually, Omega 40 was built with the plans that were given to my brother, Steve Exonitis, from his clubs that he built in Anaheim, California.
Learn something new every day on this show.
Yeah, and then Gene Deckerhoff, who was he a quarterback too at FSU? I know he's a play-by-play for the Bucks and the Seminoles.
I don't think he played. Did he play?
I thought he played, but
with
he
Coach Peterson maybe way back.
Yeah, Peter Tom Willis, so another quarterback. Yeah. Gary Burnett, who made his fame at Northwestern, and then didn't he go to Colorado? And then where he went after that?
I've got to take some time and look at these guys as we get closer to Quarterback Club. But that's the fun of it is you can go to dbquarterbackclub.com and check out who the speakers are going to be.
Well, I think the two big ones this year are going to be Bernie Kosar and Lee Corso.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be interesting to talk to Bernie Kosar.
Jack Youngblood, too. That's going to be a good one. So,
yeah. Well, listen,
when do they meet, Tasso?
Monday nights at 6 o'clock when I'll be going to the kickoff on September 16th. I'll be going to the kickoff at the MG on the Halifax
and they meet at Daytona International Speedway in the Daytona 500 Club.
That's right. You can pretend like you're driving through the road track going back there, as a lot of people do.
Oh yeah, we have some fun going in and out of there. You think about it. Why wouldn't you have fun? That long straightaway is nice headed down the backstretch there. But
like if you get caught by someone for speeding back there, what are they gonna do to you? You're gonna go like I was in the moment. Well, although I did go out with other cars, someone tried to bump draft me one night. I was a little upset about that.
If you want to go out there, Exotic Driving Experience shows up every other week.
We're supposed to be talking about the football stuff, not promoting every damn client you got. So the things we're promoting today are high school football on WNDB and the Quarterback Club at Daytona Beach. And if someone wants to get involved in the Quarterback Club, call 252-2580. Ask for Don Young, 252-2580. Listen, if you got a father or a brother that loves football, what a great gift. 10 weeks of seeing some of the best speakers talk about football, 300 guys that all they do is love and talk about football, proud of their universities, and have a great time and playing the pool sheet and stuff like that.
And great food at the Daytona 500 Club from the Speedway there.
Now, being someone who likes to eat as much as I do, you'd think that I would have said something about it, but that's just how good the fellowship is.
It is. It is. The food is the benefit, one of the benefits. But the fun of it is the people that are there, and it's a great team and a good Monday night way to get set for Monday night football. And thanks, Tasso.
Gets everything kicked off. So, and I'm Terry, we still have to talk about this whole issue of being
MG on the Halifax. You're doing it. It's for a
so for
good
people to know
cause.
for people to know who we're talking about is I was here 2 weeks ago, I believe it was.
Was it 2 or 3?
2 or 3, one of the two, and it was 3 because it took me a week to make up my mind. So I was walking in to do my show, innocently walking in to do my show, and out comes Terry with this bevy of good-looking women, and some guy that I don't know. I still don't know who he was. I didn't really care. I saw the three good-looking women, and so they asked me if I liked to dance. I said, "Oh, I sort of dig dance." I said, "My kids tell me I look like Fred Flintstone dancing in the rock yard," and they all laughed and said, "Oh, you'd be great." And Terry goes, "Yeah, you should do it. You should do it. Ask him. Ask him." So then they asked me, and then I began to receive phone calls from women that to get me to do this. So I got involved. It is to raise money for the Symphony Guild. And one of the big things that motivated me to do it, Terry, quite frankly, was the dear friendship that I developed with Tippin Davidson.
Well, that's it. It's for a good cause,
Tasso. Tippin brought a lot of culture, and Tippin would be proud of me if he was around that I was doing this. And so
he might even be dancing.
Yeah, listen, I've got people calling me Twinkle Toes already. Okay, and the way I put it in my letter to my members, I said, on a usual basis. Well, once or twice a year, I will go out golfing to entertain 4 or 5 people at a time with my golfing. I've given up golf this year for the specific purpose of entertaining on a bigger stage, which is to have people laugh with my dancing. So that will be what we will do this year. So
thanks, Fred.
So I hope if we get a phone call, we'll come back to talking to Annie Hawkins, who is my dance instructor. If she gets a chance, I know she's up in St. Augustine doing some stuff. But I really want to talk about, we have talked for months now about what we call the disease continuum. And this disease continuum is what we don't give a lot of thought to. Here's my plight in life. Most people come in the door. They expect to see a guy that looks like a Greek god. They expect to see a guy ripped with a 6-pack of abs, big arms, What they come in and get to see is my bald head that looks like it's sitting on top of a refrigerator. And we get, and people will look and go like, you're a personal trainer? And so what we've been talking about is the disease continuum and this feeling of people saying, I'm sick and tired.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
That's why we did this partnership.
Right.
Invite people to just reach that point where they make a decision to make a change.
All right, Mitch, we're going to come back to speak about this disease continuum. Annie, do you hear that? You just missed the first part of the show, Annie, where I had the guy who got me into all this in the radio show. So Annie, this is Annie Hawkins, who is my dance instructor.
Yep. Hi, how are you?
How are you doing today?
Good.
So I was telling the guys that I had a little bit of a rough night last night trying to remember the steps you were teaching me, because this is my song that we're going to do the rumba to, and you're guiding me through this, starting to learn how to do this. So, just how big a challenge have I been so far?
Well, you have tonight's lesson to make it up,
Okay, yeah, I know. Last night was a rough night, but I got to sleep late this morning, so I may be better. I may be better tonight. So, but Annie is my dance instructor. She's from. You're actually from the St. Augustine, Flagler area, right, Annie?
I live in Palm Coast, actually, and I'm from Jacksonville originally.
And you go around to various counties teaching Zumba. And teaching, you're going to teach dance to kindergarten and pre-K kids this coming year, the school year, right?
Yes, I am.
Tell us a little bit about that, the company you're working for that you're going to do that with.
That one is called Dancing Little Stars. It's a mobile dance company, and I'll just be driving around to different preschools and elementary schools, mostly St. Augustine, a couple in Palatka and Palm Coast. And I'm teaching them ballet and tap and kind of getting them interested in dancing from a young age, hopefully. So.
Well, we will be doing 3 dances, and for people who didn't hear the first part of the show is I've gotten enrolled in the Dancing with the Stars competition that is to benefit the Symphony Guild. And Annie, I've already been through the thing of talking about there are 2 ways to be a winner in this event. Number one is the fundraising part, that they give a trophy to the person who raises the most funds, and the other one is the winning the crystal ball for the judges saying that you were the best dancer that night. And I already sort of told Terry and Dave and Mitch that I think that one's the far stretch, and I haven't got too much of a shot at that, because there's some pretty elegant women in this Dancing with the Stars deal. So the radio show and everybody has to help me raise money so I can be the leading fundraiser at least. And so we're going to start in the month of September. We think the days are going to be like a Wednesday and maybe an occasional Saturday. We're going to actually have Zumba class with you coming down to teach it. and people are going to be able to come to the Zumba class, and that money is going to go towards buying more seats at the event. The seats are $75 a piece, so we'll buy more seats, and then everybody who's come to the class, we will pull out of the hat names of people who will get a ticket to come to the event. So hopefully we'll get a big crowd of people that will know you by then. Hopefully we'll get a big crowd of people that come to be entertained and laugh at with my spectacle of dancing. And, there's a lot of my family members call me Twinkle Toes already. I think that she would probably call me Step on My Toes is what Annie's name for me is. So, but we've learned the foxtrot so far, some of the basic steps of that you've taught me, right? And then we've learned the rumba, and we've learned some of the cha-cha. So tonight I think we pick up on the cha-cha and our rumba. Is that what we're going to do tonight?
I believe that's the plan. Yes.
Okay, and I want to let people know that if they would like to dance, just get into dancing. That Annie does give lessons, affordable lessons, and it's going to take a lot more lessons than the one that were prescribed for me. So we'll be discussing how many more we're going to need to do that. But I appreciate your patience, and Dave, she makes sure she gives me high fives, and I know if I've had a good night or not because I have a bruise on my shoulder when I'm done. If I've done things right from her hitting me and give me a high five. So right, Annie?
Absolutely.
Well, listen, I appreciate it. I look forward to it. They've certainly given me a patient and great dancer, and Dave's only question has been, is she cute?
Is she cute?
She's very cute.
Very good.
So Dave will be there.
Not that matters.
Dave will be there to see my cute dancing partner. So
okay.
I want to see the acute pain you'll be in when you. Never mind.
when I get out there. Thank you.
I think
Dave.
we'll all be in pain when you're out there dancing.
Oh.
See what I have to put up with, Annie? This is your plight in life. This is your challenge now. So we got to prove all these people wrong.
We can do it. We can do it.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate all your help. I look forward to it, and I appreciate
My pleasure.
And again, starting in September, we will be having Zumba classes with Annie Hawkins teaching them, and there'll probably be one night a week, most weeks, maybe a second night if your schedule avails itself to it, and we're successful with it. So hopefully people will start to reserve. And I believe we said that we're going to do Wednesday nights. Is that the night we said we're going to do for starting out?
Yeah,
Okay.
Wednesday evenings, absolutely.
Yeah. Great. So I think that our first one will be Wednesday the 5th. September 5th will be our first night that we have this. And we're talking about 5 to 5:15 to start, and it's about an hour-long class. And non-members of the club will be $10, and members of the club will be $5. And hopefully we'll start getting some people in there, and we'll raise a little money for the cause, and people have a little bit of fun. And, one of the things I've always said, that dancing is a wonderful activity because it gets you moving in multi-planes, it gets you conscious of your core. And, what I'm doing extra is, I'm going and have one of my instructors, one of my teachers, one of my clients who's a teacher of Pilates and yoga that is now working with me and get me very conscious of that core, and I'm pretty funny when I do the ballet stuff she wants me to do.
I wish I could see that one, gotta tell you.
Well, listen, she was supposed to come by to see us, but you will see her before, because I want you, I'm getting a team together, and this team, they have to communicate. So Julia is going to come by to see you. I'm sure she's going to come to the Zumba, and she'll talk with you, and she'll route the way she needs to route me to get taught and to do my stuff. So, but again, I will see you tonight. We're on it. I'll be there by about 6:15, 6:30, and another rigorous training session. Get your pads for your feet.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, Tasha.
All right, that's Annie Hawkins, my dance instructor, and available if you want to have a dance instructor to teach you how to dance, ballroom dance, and that all styles, or if you just like to come to our Zumba classes that we're going to offer at Bodez beginning September the 5th, and having a good time with that to raise money for a great cause. We're shooting towards November 10th. We will be going to the Hilton for that competition or fun night. And that's my song, Come a Little Bit Closer by Jay and the Americans. So I never knew that was a rumba all those years. How about that?
I was thinking cha-cha.
Well, listen, I only do what she tells me to do. So now let's get back to the aspect. I was given the plight a couple weeks ago to research the connection between stress and getting sick. And as
that fits in with what we did in our last program. Remember, I mentioned that cover story in Time magazine on cancer.
That's right.
So it fits perfectly.
And there are 2 research articles that came out this week, Mitch, that I think carry very strong. And here's an interesting thing. And this one could really get us in trouble. But here's an interesting thing. I went to ask.com and I asked the question. I said, what are the chances? I said, here's a question. This was actually a question from Missy from Texas on ask.com. It said, I keep reading that stress causes cancer. Is it true? Physician number 1 says there is no data indicating stress causes cancer. The way we
just look at the Time magazine, April 1st of this year.
Right. And it goes into an explanation of why it's the way we should look at it. And it does make a good point. It's how we handle stress that can help us in this thing. But they all tend to minimize. He says what we are looking for is if we can enhance the power of our immune system by doing things to make you happy. Now this is clearly a physician who is only in touch with the aspect of medication to people. It's like I had a girl come to me the other day and she says, I feel horrible. I have a friend that's doing really well with you and I really wanted to get an exercise program. I really wanted to start to clean up my eating. But my doctor said, don't go on any diets and don't go on an exercise program. And I was heartbroken by that, Mitch, because I would think that at least a physician would say, well, have him call me and tell me what he wants to do.
Well, that's really strange. In a previous life, when I lived in Connecticut, I had the privilege of working with some of Dr. Bernie Siegel's clients. Bernie Siegel is the head of was at Yale New Haven Medical Center, and he told his patients to do both: a good exercise within reason, and then certainly eliminating what were known to cause cancer, and then the other one was make sure you get a good night's sleep.
Well, there's a cornerstone of our philosophy at Bodez for helping people change their life, change their bodies, change the chemistry, change their metabolism, and it is a synergy effect. And that synergy effect is really one of the 2 principles that helps us to restore vitality and vigor back into your life. And this synergy effect is 1 + 1 has a 3 effect. It's the right nutrition, moderate aerobic exercise, and a concern for muscle. Now, there has to be a balance. When we do exercise, it can be our friend or it can be our enemy if we balance load with recovery. And part of that recovery is our ability to nourish and rest the body to make sure we come. Because we do have the human machine, the primary stimulator of repair is stress. Because stress causes us to go into the reflexive hormonal treatments that brings it. Stress can be positive. Stress isn't always negative. We do, when you have stress.
No, but when the whole terrain of the individual is nothing but stress.
Correct.
That's the whole house is on fire. You're right. If the back door is on fire, then the body has the ability to go and address that, or the basement and address that. Think of the basement as the gut. If it's upper respiratory, think of that as the attic. If you can do 1 or 2 of those, the body can stay in equilibrium. That's the word. How do you stay in equilibrium? But when the whole house is on fire, that's impossible. And then, of course, what happens.
And the house being on fire is that our brain is consumed with the emotions of stress. Our gut is not functioning to deliver nutrition to our body. We're killing off the bacteria, the word dysbiosis, where we have an imbalance of good. And there's actually numbers that show that in a healthy body there is a ratio. About 85% of the bacteria in your gut are good bacteria, and about 15 are bad. The people who have cancer, that's flipped. It's 85% bad bacteria, 15% good.
But that goes back to Whole Foods again. When you go to the largest resource of organic food, not only organic but locally grown organic food, so that some of that bacteria which is in the organic food is compatible with the environment that we live in. But when you're eating foods that have got hidden antibiotics, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, that's what disturbs that. Don't use those big $10 words. Dysbiosis is upset stomach, irritable bowel syndrome, colitis, the stuff that didn't exist before the advent of antibiotics, starting basically about 1941.
And so now if we have that load be too much, then we start to get these chronic conditions. And we go back, you mentioned Time Magazine. Time Magazine had an article back in early 2000. It was titled "The Cover, The Secret Killer." And it said, what does a stubbed toe or splinter in a finger have to do with your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, suffering a heart attack, or succumbing to colon cancer? And it said more than you might think, because over time, unchecked inflammation that comes from our immune system reacting causes hormonal imbalance, causes nutritional stress from the toxins and poor nutrition we have. The gut's affected because of trans fats and mystery sugars that we have in it. We get sleep deprivation, and then we get treated with medications that attack the bacteria and create the imbalance we just talked about.
Yeah, it's really true. Some of the best customers that I have are night shift nurses from Florida Hospital, which is just down the street from our main campus at 275 Williamson Boulevard. And it's interesting because those nurses have disturbed that circadian rhythm. That's that biorhythm that normally is in a down-regulated immune system in equilibrium. You're sleeping a normal 8 hours, the sun goes down, you wake up, and serotonin takes over and everything's great. But when you're working a night shift, you flip that. And then what you and I talked about was how important it was to maintain melatonin levels. And the melatonin is what lets us get into that deep REM sleep that's identified with vivid dreams. And the vivid dreams is what puts the fire out wherever it is in the house, the attic, the basement, the gut. It's critical. And how do we know that it's an endemic problem in the United States? Just watch the television. The ads for sleep medications are probably second only to the Nexiums and that disturbed ability for the body to eliminate what you ate the previous day.
Like Prevacid and those types of things.
Yeah, Nexium. The big one is Nexium.
What it comes back to the point I started to make that I got off track on. I'm sorry about that. Is that if a body's in perfect balance, there isn't much of a problem. It's when the body gets stressed, it changes the immune system, and the immune system now becomes a double-edged sword. Now, this is a statement from Tsunami Hai, who is a professor of molecular and cellular biochemistry at Ohio State University. They have identified a gene, the ACE3 gene, that they tie very heavily to the cause of cancer. And this gene is activated when the body gets inflamed, gets poor nutrition in it, and stress basically has stressors put on it. The second study is from Britain, and the odds of having cancer before the age of 50 among women increased twofold for those who have two what they called ACE events. Now, ACEs is an adverse childhood experience. Things like divorce or loss of a sibling or moving around a lot or being in a bad situation where you had storms or an accident or something like that. But if you had, they looked at births in 1958 and they studied them in 2013, which that's a 55-year-old person at that age, I believe. And they studied those and they said they had over 5,000 respondents, and there was more than a 2-to-1 ratio of the women getting cancer before the age of 50 if they'd had more than two of those traumatic events, those what they called the adverse childhood experiences.
And that's supported by Dr. Bernie Siegel's. He's written at least 7 books on the subject, but one of the themes that goes through all of the books is that with his female patients, there was just what you said, and a traumatic event that was the trigger. The house is smoldering, the terrain is smoldering. It's the traumatic event that lights the match. That's what causes the cellular trigger to go into either angiogenesis or tumor production. Cellular chaos is triggered by that event. And a lot of times what happens is the event takes place and then you use alcohol or The event's so traumatic,
Yeah.
you're not sleeping, and it's back to exactly what we just said.
Well, on October the 3rd at Calvary Christian Church there, you're going to have Dr. Michael Murray there. And you handed me an article this morning. It's called Stress Relax, the Effective Nutritional System for a Calmer Life. And in this, he talks about two major points. He talks about basically productive exercise and maximizing good rest from the standpoint. Physical exercise and getting a good night's sleep, which once again falls into our little synergy formula that we had of good nutrition. And let's talk about good nutrition. Let's talk about why they should be buying grass-fed beef and grass-fed dairy products as opposed to what's on the shelves of the mass market supermarkets from that standpoint. And the one point I didn't know till about 2 years ago, these cattle that they use as dairy cows that are put in these pens and just fed the grain, which grain's not a food that cattle were meant to eat. They're meant to eat grass, which is nutritional rich, as you've said very, very many times on the show.
Right, but silage is dead grass.
Right.
So the bioforce is gone when you're feeding them silage. It keeps the animal alive, but it's not optimal nutrition.
Right. And so those dairy animals will produce 56 gallons of dairy product a day. Now, a grass-fed cow, just grazed in old school ways, will put out about 14 to 16 gallons a day of milk. So it's about the quantity. But why do they want a cow to put out 56 gallons? It's all the numbers.
It's the money. And the stimulation of that is a genetically modified hormone called BGH. And one of the things that Love Whole Foods has done for our 2 decades plus mission has been to certainly label what's on our products and then eliminating from the products any bioengineered components. And when the word organic means there's no bovine growth hormone, which is what BGH stands for. In Canada, it's outlawed. And in the United States, we allow it. There was just an article in the News Journal on Wednesday, about the Merck doing a recall on a feed additive that had such gross impact on the cows. It was causing them to have basically Parkinson's symptoms, that the FDA made the Merck take that item out. That wasn't even the bovine growth hormone. That was just a feed additive. And the word organic, and again, Love Whole Foods is the largest resource in Flagler, Volusia County for not only organic, but free bioengineered excipients. And then, of course, wherever possible, we try to do local organic, which is even better.
Well, I think a lot of people will remember the cartoon Pogo, and one of his great quotes was, "We have met the enemy, and it is us." And we're our own worst enemy because we sideline ourselves, going back to our synergy of solving this. And I want to put something else out, because people have listened to the show 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row and say, boy, they seem to talk a lot about the same kind of things, because number one, it's a solution that works. But number two, whether we're talking about an anti-aging solution, slowing down the aging process and bring that vitality back from there, or we're talking about just optimizing your health and reversing cardiovascular disease, the formula works in both of those. And it's not like how we look at the medical community. The medical community is a fragmented community. What happens is you go to your general practitioner and he sends you off to the expert for your gut. And then he sends you off to the expert for your heart. And I don't know how often those guys communicate, because I constantly, one of the biggest things I've done is I have a friend of mine who is a, pharmacist that what he can do is he can take all the medications you take, and he can put them into a program, and he can come back to you and say, these have side effects that are basically counterindicative to each other, and you shouldn't be taking these medications together. It's amazing how many times. I mean, look at Steve Robinson, who's been one of our poster children. 11 medications and 2 diabetes shots. He had metabolic syndrome X when he came in the door. He had thyroid, he had high blood pressure, he had high cholesterol, he had high triglycerides, he had diabetes, he's taking medication, he had high blood pressure. What happened? Did he change the amount of salt he was eating? No. He began an exercise program that brought in the body's ability to heal itself. Dr. Pampa, who we had on the show, talks a lot about getting the interference out of the way a lot of times. And that interference could be the toxins that you take in. It could be the lack of exercise that you use to stimulate your body to cleanse it, because there is a peristaltic type of cleansing that goes on as you get movement going in the body. Because, the lymphatic system has no pump to pump it. It doesn't have a heart to pump it. You have movement stimulates the lymphatic system, right, Mitch?
Yeah, getting back to dance, or you get in the shower and you do some acupressure, which is what that whole system of healing is about. Move your fingers down the lymphatic glands under the armpits, and again, you can stimulate that lymphatic drainage.
And it's amazing to me, the other thing, I had one of my clients I was talking to, and he said, I can't believe that how much better I feel. And, in the 3 years I've been with you, my business has almost doubled. And before, when I came to you, I couldn't handle the business I had because I didn't have that clarity of mind. Now, this is a person who did everything right, Mitch. They came in, they went to Love Whole Foods. I remember him telling me the first time he came, he said, I cleaned up my refrigerator. I went to Love Whole Foods. I replaced everything like you told me to. He says a couple $100, so I know I'm going to follow this program because I just invested all this money.
Yeah, you want to put money on the table.
And he had some skin in the game, as we like to say.
Right.
And he came in, and now he's not a Steve Robinson. He didn't lose 130 pounds and all that kind of. He lost 15 pounds, but his body changed, his mechanics changed, his energy changed.
The terrain changed.
That's right, and the terrain is that culture that we have in our body of how we manage it and how we do it. Now, in Dr. Murray's article here, he talks about, again, getting a good night's sleep. And this week, I called you because one of my members was having difficulty sleeping.
It was a full moon. Guys, the full moon's been off the chart. We're at sea level. Sleep disorders are always more prevalent at that time of the month. And as every woman understands whose cycle mirrors it. But you know what happens. The estrogen level peaks. That estrogen is incredibly sensitizing to the brain tissue. It fights the circadian rhythm and breaks it open, typically at around 3 o'clock in the morning. And what have you done? You've disturbed that normal sleep cycle that is restorative. And it sends a signal to the body, something woke me up, and I need to be on full alert. And then you know what happens to leptin levels. Then the leptin, instead of being an appetite suppressant, you wake up and you say, this is the classic go to the refrigerator. There's that alarm bell that says, feed me, and all of a sudden you're eating, the Dagwood sandwich at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And, I had a client that used to tell me, he says, I wake up and I don't even know that I'm in front of the refrigerator. I wake up in front of it. He wasn't even conscious that he was going down and getting in front of the refrigerator, even though he was taking medications for sleep at the time. Now, again, another testimony to physical exercise, a good diet. Cleans up his diet, gets to where he takes a lot of the sugary products out, took out the pasta and the white bread and that type of thing, and has lost about 35 pounds, but no medication for sleep now. And this is what fitness should be about. We have this image that fitness should be about how you look. And although what your weight is and how you look certainly is a big thing, the bigger thing is how the body is going to function. Who controls the outcome of this? Who controls fat loss, weight loss, your clothes fitting differently, the energy increase that you can have, you boosted your metabolism, the increase in strength, the reduction in blood glucose and blood pressure, improving your hormone balance. If you have days that your mood swings up and down and you don't sleep well and you have the energy level boost and you have these little outrages where you get upset and you yell, you probably have a hormone imbalance going on. And the ways to get back to this are the same step that we've talked about. The synergy of good nutrition, cleaning up that nutrition. And you're going to find, again, going back to organic foods, what I've found from the people who, in the last year and a half, I have really been much more vocal about saying, I didn't used to think, I'm one of those, Mitch. 2 years ago, I didn't think there was a difference between going into Publix and buying my vegetables and buying, the meat that was there that looked good, and buying grass-fed beef or buying organic vegetables. I didn't think there was a difference. I said all the difference is $2 a pound. And when I went in there and I did it, I found out and said, wow, I didn't eat that whole head of lettuce tonight. I didn't eat a whole tomato tonight. The salad stuff I was making my salad with was now lasting 2 and 3 days instead of 1 day.
And again, when it's whole food that's nutritionally dense, and to the listeners, we quoted some of the studies that were shown that they actually can scientifically show that, for example, organic carrots have more beta carotene than conventionally grown. But if you want a definitive analysis of that, read The Gut and Psychology Syndrome by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. And she'll show you exactly, and she's a pediatric neurologist that will actually show you how, for example, the free-range beef as opposed to conventional beef produces higher levels of K2, and how vital K2 is in growth and development and repair, not only of the gut, but also of the second brain, which most of us are familiar with. The gut being, however, the primary brain that's essential in producing the nutrients that produce the hallmark of what we call optimal health, not just adequate health, optimal health.
And when people think about, Love Whole Foods and the other various stores that are around, Mitch, they think about it and they go like, they say, well, I take supplements. And the fact of the matter is when your terrain, is the word you've used today, your terrain is not balanced and it's not good, it is not healthy, those vitamins, no matter how good they are, doesn't mean a thing.
If your gut is coated with trans fats and fungus called candida, then there's no nutrients going into the bloodstream that support health. But we've now created a situation called leaky gut syndrome, where toxins are going into the bloodstream. And of course that leads to what Dr. Campbell McBride talked about: schizophrenia, depression. I mean, that's the subject of a whole another discussion.
Well, it's where all the awareness of gluten comes along now.
And the gluten goes
gluten
right through
gluten is not the worst of the proteins that we're seeing coming in through the grains that is murdering our systems. Absolutely murdering our systems from that standpoint. This is the lesser. It's just for some reason it's gotten to be the more known right now. It is the lesser of the evils. Now, if you want to take action, I want to go ahead, and you're welcome to call in at 239-0033 with your questions or comments with us. You can challenge the things we're saying. You can, we respect your opinion, and we'll talk to you about it. But if you want to take action, at Bodez we have a program called the 8-Hour Body. 8 hours over 8 weeks. And, today in the newspaper there was an article about the Surgeon General of the state of Florida
fighting obesity.
My first comment to him, if I could get to meet him in person, would be, you need to change the game plan, because the game plan we're using is not the proper one. You go through town, and the diet centers that are out there are all deprivation kind of diets, which rob the body of its metabolic tissue, muscle. We tell people that they have to go 50 to 60 minutes, 4 to 6 days a week of aerobic exercise. We've created a thing where we think aerobic exercise is king, rather than understanding how the body truly works and understanding how to get the body. When you pay attention to muscle, you won't burn calories just when you're exercising. You burn it for up to 30 hours later. You're still burning that fat to replenish the cells that worked in that anaerobic threshold. Everybody's talked about aerobic exercise and steady state, but here's the greatest example I think I've come up with. How about this? Whose body would you rather have? The body of a sprinter or the body of a marathon runner? The marathon runner looks emaciated, skinny, aged a little bit beyond the years in many cases. The sprinter is muscular, vibrant looking. You're like, wow, look, when you look at FloJo, you want that body, right? When you look at Mary Decker-Slaney, who's been through premature hysterectomies, she's had osteoarthritis and osteoporosis. She's an elite athlete, but by virtue of her commitment to her sport, she had a lot of things to endeavor that tore her body down. It aged her prematurely. And so we have to look at it from this standpoint. We have to change the paradigm of how we think about exercise and being more efficient with what we do with it. And the 8-Hour Body is an introduction to do that. We actually offer 2 programs now. We're offering our $99 supervised program for 8 weeks. And we're also offering a one-on-one program where you have our cardio coaching and a very specific game plan put in for you. And that program is actually going to run more like we're going to run more like 9 weeks in that program. But that program is geared to help you improve your eating 1 week at a time. Not massive changes, but little changes you'll make. It may be that you ate at McDonald's 3 times last week and you only ate 1 time this week. That's a change. Whether Mitch will tell you, oh no, don't be eating McDonald's. But we have it in our lifestyles. We've got to change these lifestyles and adapt and have a reason to do that. And so these are things. Now, on the other hand, Mitch is going to supply the education. Mitch,
we've got an incredible lineup starting obviously this coming Thursday. This coming Thursday night, Align Integrative Health is going to be doing a whole presentation on the terrain link between heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. The neat thing for the listeners is the same dietary, exercise program, and sleep system is applicable to all 3. They're all linked. You create one terrain and you resolve all 3 issues. And then, of course, we've got Dr. Murray coming on October 3rd at the Calvary Church. It will not be at the store. It's going to be a joint endeavor with all of the area stores, inviting this incredible national talent. And he's going to be talking about stress, anxiety, and insomnia. And I'm making an offer to the listeners today. Anyone who mentions Tasso's and Mitch's program today can come in and ask for the booklet, Stress, Anxiety, Insomnia, and you can pick up a copy of this book to be prepared for that October 3rd. And then, of course, we've got Terry Limrod coming in November 7th, and we're going to be celebrating GMO month, the entire month of October. So just go to lovewholefoods.com. Look at the schedule. These programs are all free. They're either at the Ormond store, 275 Williamson Boulevard, or Leslie Patterson's going to be in next week, September 4th. September 4th at our new Premier store in Port Orange. That's at 1633 Taylor Road, exit 256 off of I-95, just opposite of the Westport Shopping Center.
Now it's worth the drive, worth trying to get there. And Leslie is very knowledgeable.
That's going to be a great program.
I love when other presenters are there and Leslie's in the back, because you can just tell her, you can just see her putting her hands over her mouth because she really wants to contribute, because she's very knowledgeable and she's been on this show several times, been a big help. And from that standpoint.
And she walks the talk. Look at her. Talk about a sprinter.
Yep, looks great. So we, I should have started out the show with this, because we started several weeks ago. We had on this radio show, and he's been on twice with us. We had a young man named Curtis Mitchell on the radio show. Hopefully our listeners will remember. And I don't know, there's been 2 articles written about him now in the News Journal in the last week. Curtis Mitchell, if you'll remember the story, was I had the pleasure of meeting Curtis in Orlando at an event for an athlete that we're affiliated with through Oxio Sports Management. And had the opportunity, because of E.J. Qualley, a former Mainland High School athlete who plays Canadian football, introduced me to Curtis. And I asked Curtis what he did for a sport, and he said he was a track guy. And I said, how's the season going? He says, not very well. He hadn't been able to run competitively. He came home to Daytona. He got involved in our training method. He got involved in going to Dr. Lorenzo Fahn. And what happened? 6 weeks later, his coach, who is the same coach of Tyson Gay, deems him worthy and deems him healthy enough to go and run in some major track events. Mm-hmm. That started a journey where 3 weeks after that, he qualified for the World Championship team. He went to Moscow, and last weekend won a bronze medal. So we're proud of Curtis for that. He's in Stockholm today running, again in the 200 meters. And I think just awesome for him. It's awesome for this area to know that we have people and athletes like this. Now, the big story we're going to have for Curtis is when he comes home with that medal, is he going to hold true to his promise to me that if we worked with him and helped him, that he was going to start with us a foundation to fight children's obesity.
Oh, cool.
That's a passion. He said, oh, man, he says, I'm on that. And you heard him on this show.
Yeah,
we
if
have
he does
him.
it, we'll support him.
Yeah, he was on this show with us, and he said, I want to do stuff positive for my community. I want to be known in my community. Well, he started the process of being known because, listen, there are not too many people that aren't going to know who he is, not know who he is by the end of the 2014 Olympics. Or 16, is it 14 or 16 for this summer in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro? I think it's 16. Be 16.
I've lost track.
Yeah, be 2016. He'll be there.
See,
That's
the first
goal.
one was in Greece.
You're not really going to count back on your thing, are you? Wow. So, Mitch, give everybody the number for Love Whole Foods.
Yeah, just again, I invite let's just summarize real quick everything that we discussed. The balance between exercise, diet, and a good night's sleep is summarized in Dr. Murray's book. And again, October 30 will be here. Go to lovewholefoods.com and you can see our schedule. We're located at 1633 Taylor Road in Port Orange. And our main campus is 275 Williamson Boulevard, right across from the post office and next to the Regal Cineplex in Ormond Beach.
And from the standpoint of Bodez Personalized Fitness, the phone number is 672-6464. We have our $99 program, the 8-hour body, which is a 2-month program. And I want to let you know that what my business is really about is not about the aesthetics only of exercise. That's certainly part of it, because what happens is we see that change in our bodies. But what we want to see is a change in the core, which are going to be the things that are able to stay there for a long time. Because when you reverse chronic conditions, you restore vitality and vigor. Here's what happens in my eyes. It sets me up to be the ultimate differentiation between what you guys think of as a traditional personal trainer. Listen, go into the nicest gym in this town, the best looking trainer, and ask to talk to them about the relationship of the brain, the gut, and their immune system to how your overall life is affected with weight loss resistance, with energy fatigue issues, with hormone imbalances. They may know a lot about sets and cardio training and all that, but they're going to be labored to do that. This is what I've spent the last 3 to 5 years of my life, because what we ran into in our Healthy Inspirations program was we ran into women who were turning 45 and 50, and they were experiencing weight loss resistance. And the only solution they had was to go spend $600 or $700 a month and go to these anti-aging clinics and take HGH and testosterone and all that type of thing, which that's not practical.
Synthetic HGH, or worse, in the case of some of the HGH derived from cadavers. I mean, even worse.
Right. So we bring an up-to-date look at science and research. At Bodez is where exercise meets medicine. We're trying to compel physicians to understand that is the plight that we have taken now. That is how we are involved in this industry. And also it allows us to set ourselves up in roles that I think that you're side by side with me on this, Mitch.
Right. It's a whole approach to wellness. Right.
But what we become is we become healers, and we become agents of positive change in people's life and quality of life. And that's the core reason we got into the fitness business. I wanted to help people. And this knowledge that I've acquired, I'm a specialty trainer. There's only 26 people in the whole United States that have gone through the course that I've gone through from the standpoint of understanding how to change the chemistry of the body like I had. And so we are committed to what we do. It is a passion for us. And so we'd like to see you come down. Bodez Personalized Fitness is 672-6464. And we have the program, the 8-hour body. And, if you're going to invest in yourself, I strongly encourage you, before we get into September, to invest in a one-on-one program while it's still on the summer special. That program is the best investment that you will make in your body to change it and to change your health, your life, your attitude, and your energy. So 672-6464 is the number. Mitch, give them the numbers to the Ormond and Port Orange store.
Yeah, the Ormond store is 677-5236, and the Port Orange is 767-6543. And remember, Tasso, we developed a little mantra when we first met, that love, laugh, and lift.
That's right.
We need to get back on that. That really summarizes what we said today.
Absolutely.
Love, laugh, and lift. That's what it's all about. And dance. Get out there and move your booty.
Here we
buddy.
go.
Move that booty.
All right. Thank you very much. 672-6464. Get involved. Support me in the Dancing with the Stars, November the 10th. I'm going to be working hard from now to then. God bless. Have a great weekend. And get out and enjoy high
So
school
long,
football
everybody.
this weekend.
WNDB Daytona Beach. First in local news. Fox News updates at the top of every hour. Online at newsdaytonabeach.com.